So we are so pleased this morning that we have with us Jackie. And Jackie's been one of our volunteers for a few months now. So
Yeah.
Jackie,
Pretty green.
that's okay. Tell Nolan and I how you first got connected with A Touch of Understanding.
Right. So another volunteer, another workshop volunteer, Steven Sanchez, he was a part of my People First group. He was the president at the time, and he invited Leslie Dora to come and speak at our People First group, and I was interested right away. I forgot to get her contacts. Then about maybe 3-4 months later, she had a workshop at where I work, which is SMUD. So SMUD had a workshop at the particular building I work with, and I did the whole workshop, did the cane, then the wheelchair, and the learning disabilities test, and I remember going through the maze backwards and doing it perfectly because
wow.
Yeah, in the learning disabilities part. And so I just knew that I wanted to be a part of it. Once again, I forgot their contacts. 6 months later, they came to a nonprofit fair at SMUD, and this time I said, what can I do to be a part of this?
Okay.
So that's how that went.
The rest was history.
Yeah, it is history.
Pretty much.
What do you do at SMUD?
So I do scanning, I do data entry, and I do a lot of quality check. And that's actually something I mention in my workshop, is that part of being on the spectrum sometimes is paying close attention to details. And a lot of people get annoyed by that. Hey, you're not seeing the big picture, but at my job, it's a strength.
Yeah.
It's
playing to your strengths is an
Oh,
amazing
absolutely.
thing to do.
Yes, makes me feel
can
good.
you talk a little bit about then the challenges that you've had?
Okay, sure. So it's a little bit less cut and dry than the usual. I was born with this. So
Got it.
when I was a baby, I was healthy, well developing. My parents started to notice that I had a little bit of a delay, but they didn't think anything too heavily of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got really sick when I was 4 years old, to the
Okay.
point where I was in the hospital multiple times.
Okay.
And they found out that I had a rare inborn error of metabolism. Actually, they think it might be a mitochondrial disorder. I don't want to bore you with a bunch of medical details, but it was pretty wild. So
Okay.
they did some testing to make sure I didn't have any brain damage.
Okay.
And they diagnosed me with organic brain disorder with autistic tendencies, which is basically a catch-all term for brain damage, but we don't know why. So then when I got older, it turned into PDD-NOS.
Okay.
And then when I got older, that turned into Asperger syndrome and nonverbal learning disability. So I have social skills. I am social. I like being around people. I just don't have the same filter that everybody else does
Got it.
for what's acceptable and what's not sometimes.
Yeah, but acceptable to whom?
Yeah, exactly.
There's the
So
question.
I'm very smart, and there are some things I struggle with as well. So, it just depends. So you ask me about Stranger Things, and I'll just tell you everything. You ask me about literature, I'll tell you everything. You put me behind the wheel of a car, I'm low functioning there. So
Okay.
functioning is kind of so in layman's terms, functioning depends on what I'm doing. So
And it's all relative.
yeah,
The task
exactly.
is.
So I maybe can't exactly make a complex meal or drive a car, but I can pretty much one of my biggest strengths is writing and talking. And
Okay.
so I love to talk. I'll talk your ear off. So this is a great avenue for me to use that and be able to just talk all day.
Wow, that's
And-
amazing. And so what is it that you now do for A Touch of Understanding that you're so passionate about?
So I love it. I go to children's schools
Okay.
of usually third
elementary schools?
Yeah,
to the
third
workshops?
graders, fourth graders, and I tell them what it means to be on the spectrum, basically.
Okay.
Even though I'm a little bit different than, say, the average person on the spectrum. I'm extremely talkative, and I usually am extremely social. It's just I don't always know when to stop talking. But that's
that's a learned skill.
yeah, it is. I basically, as time goes on, I started to explain the sensory aspects, the what it's like to be stuck in a world where everything around you is too loud. The aspects of having food that doesn't taste very well or is too strong a flavor or too strong a texture. What it's like to live in a world where everybody seems to know how to talk to each other, but you know how to talk, but you don't know how to follow that same code that everybody else seems to know.
Right.
And the one thing that's really impacted my life being part of ATOU is I'd say the past month before school got out was I started to kind of frame the gifts of my autism, both in terms of talking about how I use it for SMUD and how well my hearing is I started to frame it as though I'm a superhero because one of my interests is Marvel, and a lot of kids love Marvel, so
and they can relate to that.
So it used to be that I would just always see it as this thing I was born with, this thing I have to go through, this thing I struggle with.
Right.
And now I'm seeing it in a different light than I used to. So
That you have special gifts.
yeah, exactly.
We all have gifts. It's just a matter of whether we recognize those gifts and then how we employ them.
Yeah.
So let me ask you another question. Have you ever had the pleasure of hearing one of Nolan's jokes?
I've heard a couple. You know, you did a joke one time on Braille where you were saying it's Friday, gotta get ready for Friday stuff. Yeah.
So
I have a photographic memory as well.
Oh, well, that's
yeah,
good.
I have a really good memory.
Good.
Although usually it's for really funny things or silly things or factoids, but I'll forget what I ate for breakfast. So it's never the important stuff.
Yes. So Nolan, you have a joke for Jackie today?
I do.
Okay.
What do sea monsters eat for dinner?
I do not know.
Fish and chips.
That's awesome. That's funny.
Oh, that's pretty crazy.
Yes.
And another thing we've started is what we call the paperclip challenge.
Okay.
And so what we did, Nolan started this idea out, and he traded a paperclip with Leslie for a pen, and then that got for Sharpie actually, and then that got traded for a flower pen, and then so this has kind of progressed every single week.
Okay.
So today, from one of our last week interviews, we have a special item for you that Mr. Nolan has, and it is a free financial consultation with one of our community partners. And so his information, I printed the email in there and what it entails, and then his business card is in there. His name is Alec, and he's an amazing young man.
Okay.
So we can explain that a little bit more in detail to you when we're done here.
Okay.
But do you have something that you were thinking about trading with us?
So,
oh my goodness, what do we have here?
So it's something
pretty.
I saw at the grocery store, and it was just the cutest little thing. It started as a inside joke between several staff and a couple of people I went to a day program with, and it was just a funny little. I gave it a name, I gave it a backstory, and I just thought, I don't even have a dog.
And it's a squeak toy.
Yes. So
what is his name?
Hamlet.
Hamlet.
And what's his backstory?
Hamlet dropped out of college, but works as a dishwasher part-time and is a stand-up comedian. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's creative.
Yes.
So, well, thank you so much for spending some time with us. Oh, thank you. I like Hamlet. Yeah, you don't give me squeak toys. It's trouble.
Exactly.
Because I'll squeak them.
Okay.
We are so pleased, Jackie, that you spent some time with us this morning and sharing your story and the importance of the work that you're doing with ATOU and how other people can be impacted by that. So we are just so grateful for what you do with ATOU.
Yeah.
And we just hope you have an awesome rest of your day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.